And we are live with another episode of, well, no, not another episode. This is the first episode. It's, I guess, another episode of the Aftershows that the Keeg does. This is the Keeg Presents the X-Men 97 After Show. We are here to talk about the sequel series to the 90s X-Men cartoon that just came out on Disney+. It's X-Men 97. 2 episodes dropped, so we're going to be talking about those 2 episodes. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and if you're watching us live, twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. You can see me. You can see who our people are. But if you're listening to the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts from, you can't see who our guests are. And that's just the way podcasts work. So let me introduce them. First, he's been on multiple Comic Talk episodes, always talking about X-Men. Also, State of X, which we will be bringing it back. It's our monthly X-Men podcast that we're doing, but life gets in the way, so we'll probably have another episode in a week or so. We got Aaron Rhodes, aka King Krakoa. Aaron, how you doing today?
I am doing great, my guy. It's a wonderful day. I'm ready to get into it. And how's everybody doing?
I'm good. You're good. And then
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I guess that question is directed towards our other guest. We got an X-Men newbie in the house. She is not new to Marvel in general. In fact, she's a big Marvel fan. We got Sarah B, Movies and Tea, in
What's up?
on
In the house.
I was trying
On
to
the
figure
line.
out what rhymes with that. I'm trying to, movies and tea, watching TV on Disney P, which is short for plus. Anyway,
I was like,
How's it
I had
going?
so many ideas
yeah.
watching the T with T.
Sarah, how's your day going?
It's going pretty good. I'm excited to be talking about X-Men 97 as well, as like a sort of newbie to X-Men.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Like people have been waiting for this series to come out, and I'll be honest, and I even did like a TikTok about it, but like I was not necessarily looking forward to this. I thought like I was happy that this would come out, and I've been an X-Men fan for a very long time. But when they said they were going to do a sequel series on this show, I'm like, why? There was already 5 seasons back in the day. Like, is this just a nostalgia grab? Um, I don't know if Aaron was the same way. Aaron, were you looking forward to this one? Like, what were your...
Um, I was honestly, I I was happy just to have an X-Men show
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
I was ready for it. I didn't care what it was gonna be, but honestly, I knew that if they were going to reboot this, I knew that they would have to understand the assignment. Like I
I was
when
afraid that they
they
weren't going to.
I was very skeptical. I was very, very, very scared. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know how I was gonna end up, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see how it goes, and I'm just gonna, be open to it. I was gonna go into it like I go in with every X-Men movie. I go into it with the least expectation possible, and I come out of it feeling way better about it than I did if I would have gone into it like, oh yeah, this is gonna be amazing.
L-
Like,
let's talk about that because I am hurt by just the fact, like, okay, I was playing Fortnite with my cousin. My cousin lives in New
Mhm,
Zealand. He's 12 or 13. And I was playing Fortnite with him, and
mhm.
I was like, "Hey, do you have Disney Plus over there in New Zealand?" And he's like, "Yeah, we do, but I don't have Disney Plus." And I was like, he has Netflix." And I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, okay, like because this new X-Men cartoon just came out and like it's super cool." And he's like, I don't really like X-Men. I don't know anything about him. And I'm like, I can't blame him.
What?
I can't blame him. You know what I mean? I can't. And here's the thing, Sarah. You're relatively new to X-Men because the movies weren't that good.
Yeah, I remember watching one. I don't even remember which one I watched. It was like way like I think I was like 8 or something and I
Okay.
watched it
Oh no.
and it sucked. And I was like, I'm never gonna watch this again.
Which
And around the
one?
same I
Now I
don't
need to know
know.
which
I have
one,
no
right?
idea.
Uh,
It was
uh,
really bad.
there have been a lot of bad X-Men movies.
It
Yeah,
might have been like
there
an
was.
offshoot, like a character movie,
Do you
but
know what
I'm pretty
year?
sure it was an X-Men.
Is it
Uh,
Wolverine and the
well, it would have been
origins? Wolverine origins?
2010, around 2010.
Okay.
Oh,
Ooh.
oh. Yeah,
Oh,
As
okay.
I
I gotta look that up.
aggressively go to my, as I aggressively go to my web search.
I
2000
wouldn't
and,
even know it if you told me which one, because there's so many like First Class, and then there's
uh,
like X-Men and Future
2009 was
Past.
X-Men Origins Wolverine. Was it just a Wolverine movie or
That
was
was
it an
probably it.
X-Men movie?
I couldn't tell you even if I
Did it
wanted
have
to. I think
Wolverine
it's.
in it?
I think it.
Was Wolverine in it or not in it?
Yeah, I think he was.
Okay, so it might
I
be
was
X-Men
so
Origins
young.
Wolverine or X-Men First Class was in 2011.
This is
It
like
was
15
probably
years ago.
It was probably
Okay.
Wolverine. It was probably the Wolverine origins, and if it was, I completely understood why you would have given up on the whole franchise and them as even characters
Yeah,
because
X-Men Origins
who
Wolverine was the
who
absolute
asked for that?
worst. It was the
Who
absolute
wanted
worst.
that?
Um,
Maybe that one.
um, I'm very anti-gatekeeping. X-Men is for everybody, and that's like the whole
Yeah,
point, right? So
yeah,
what it hurts me not that new people are getting into X-Men. I love that. It hurts me that Marvel dropped the ball on their best franchise
yeah. They
ever.
didn't see the vision.
And it's because Marvel sold all the properties to all these
Hmm.
different studios. They all did what they wanted to do. X-Men was popular enough to be grabbed by Fox right away, and then Fox did
Right.
not, and it was popular enough that Fox didn't want to give up the rights. So then when the MCU started, couldn't do X-Men. And so
Hmm.
there hasn't really been I mean, X-Men cartoons have been like sparse. So like a whole generation of people didn't grow up with X-Men. And now we're here at X-Men 97, and this
Right.
is fairly like a new fresh introduction to a lot of new fans, not just to Sarah, but like
Hmm.
a lot of
Oh
this
yeah,
is people's
definitely.
first time.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job in introducing it like a new show. Like we didn't need you don't absolutely need to see the old one, but if you want to, get a little context, you can watch it if you want to, and just like go into it like that. And I miss the days of an X-Men cartoon. Like the thing about the X-Men cartoons that they have not been they it's not like they were bad. Like I've never run into a bad X-Men cartoon. Like even
I like
even
Wolverine
like
and the
the
X-Men.
offshoot
Is that
ones.
what you're saying?
Absolutely love it.
I love Wolverine and the X-Men.
I try to slightly like yeah, but yeah, also very much I live for that show, and it was a miscarriage of justice when they took it off and gave it one season. I just hurts my heart every time, guys.
Before I just want to throw out a question. Do we remember the live action X-Men related Fox TV show? Sarah, did
I
you know
do.
that there was a live action X-Men related
The Gifted.
The Gifted?
Oh my
It
gosh.
was called The
It-
Gifted, and people didn't know it was an X-Men show because the
yeah,
title, I think the most they
they,
had was like an X that was the
they had
dot
the X
above
in
the
it.
I. The
I have
Hmm.
X
to
was
look this
like,
up now.
it's called The Gifted, and it lasted
Do it.
2 seasons. And
Yeah,
I,
Bill from True Blood was in
I
it.
loved it,
I
but
liked it actually.
it had a lot of great stuff and a lot of
Dimitri,
not great stuff.
I feel so seen with you right now because I thought I was the only person who cared about that show, and I just,
People
bro,
forget
I loved
about
it.
it, and people also
Right?
didn't realize that it was an X-Men show. And I think that if
Yeah.
it was called something like that,
And
they could have
they
called it.
messed up because they gave it like the offshoot characters. They just gave us Thunderbird, Polaris, and Blink as
Yeah,
like characters. I'm like, babe, we barely know them.
yeah,
Like,
and a carbon copy of Sunspot, who we see in this show.
yes,
Um,
yes.
they couldn't use Sunspot, maybe, I don't know. Anyway,
Right.
here's a question, Sarah. How'd you like these 2 episodes?
It was so good. I have like
Yeah.
almost zero complaints about this TV show. I'm like absolutely like after a whole host of like slightly mediocre Marvel projects, I was like going into
Hmm.
this very like skeptical. I was like, oh no, like should I watch it? Should I even press play? It was so good. I'm so glad I
Right.
did.
I was surprised by how good these 2 episodes were.
Yeah.
And, and again, I didn't think there needed to be a sequel to the original 90s show. In fact, I thought the show that needed a sequel was Wolverine and the X-Men, because that only lasted 1 season, and it set up stuff and it ended.
Such a
And I was
heavy,
like,
such a big heavy cliffhanger.
yeah, I was like, okay, this is unnecessary. But then I realized, like, so many people, this is going to be like people's introduction to X-Men for so
Hmm.
many people. And they
Yeah.
have to reintroduce everybody and everything. Did that ever get confusing, Sarah? The introductions of characters? Because there's a bunch of characters.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really helpful, like, at the beginning, they kind of, like, laid out everybody's character and, like, a little
Hmm.
brief description, and then
Hmm.
also what I've noticed is that, like, many of the characters are coming in and being like, "I'm Storm, I'm basically the goddess of lightning." It's like, "Great, okay, now I really don't need to, like, focus and figure out, wait, who is that person? Because she literally gave a grand introduction of who she was." So, it's been pretty easy.
Talk about a good example of like conservation of like words. You know, like everything they say is chosen to like
Yeah.
show you who a character is, what their relationships are to each other. Aaron, any
Mhm.
big character introductions that stand out to you?
Oh man. The biggest and iconic moment for me in this big intro, I guess, would be both of Storm's entrances in both episodes. Primarily the second episode when Cyclops just hits the intercom and just says, "Give him the forecast."
That's all in
And
episode 1.
that's episode one. Oh my God, you're
Yeah.
totally right. It's the end. It's the fight scene,
Yeah.
Yeah.
bro. Yeah, it. I instantly was like, no, they're not. Yeah, and as soon as he said it, I was like, oh, it's time. And she just stepped out with all her like regal godliness and did her thing. Like it was, yeah, that was a big one for me.
Yeah.
Oh, is
I
there any other one? And of course, Morph. Morph always the class act. I instantly knew because I was like, oh, I was like, oh, this is funny to him, but I was like, isn't this kind of distasteful? But all right, what? He just died, but okay, we're
yeah.
good, we're cool.
Um I mean, okay, so like it introduces everybody. It introduces like
Hmm.
it starts off where the last series sort of left off. There is like a 5-issue limited comic series that's coming out that bridges the
Yeah.
gap between
Hmm.
the first season series and the second series. But for the most part, like it starts off right away. The death of
Right.
Xavier, which I'm cool with because I don't think
Yeah.
Xavier is necessary. Um,
Yeah.
death of Xavier, Cyclops is running the team now. Um,
Hmm.
and we get introduced to a new mutant right off the bat. So in the original
Yes.
series, the new mutant getting introduced was Jubilee. And
Literally a
this
new
one, it's Sunspot being yeah, the new mutant.
one.
Being introduced with the Friends of Humanity taking him hostage, right? And then
Hmm.
Bishop and Storm coming in to save him at first. Um, anything like did you guys like how did you guys feel about that scene? And the introduction of that character, Sunspot. Well, he's
I
not known as Sunspot yet. He's Roberto.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Sarah, go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I didn't know who he was going into it.
Hmm.
All I knew, I thought, he's like kind of like pretentious, and I was
Hmm.
like, oh no, another rich kid gonna come in here and buy his way out, and like all he wants is like the money, and that's it, and like he's not gonna own up to his own responsibility. Like that's kind of like the vibe that I
Hmm.
got. Like he's given a responsibility almost, and he's like, nah, I'll
Right.
just
I'm
put that
good.
to the side. I'll take the money. So yeah, I didn't really like. I don't really like his character quite yet. I think he's
Yeah.
really, yeah.
I think over the course of the 2 episodes, we're definitely going to see a little bit more of him and whatnot. Did Aaron freeze? Okay, no, Aaron's back. I think we're going to see more of Roberto, and show a little bit more depth, which we do. We kind of see some nuance with his character. But yeah, in the beginning, they set him up as a rich kid, and he's just like, "I'll just pay you, just let me go." And they're like, your money means nothing when we're racist is kind of what it was, right? Like we're supremacists. Why would we
Oh
care?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we'll take your money. How about we take your money and kill you? Like, you know, uh, class doesn't mean much when it comes to like racism. Um, and he says I'm one of the good ones, which I'm very surprised the layers and nuances that this show like has been like firing on. Did you notice that, Sarah? Like, it wasn't just like one layer of like, oh, like mankind seems to hate us. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's really, I mean, like they just introduced like three main components just right off the gate. Like, that anti-hero kind of set up with like Magneto, and then obviously the X-Men who are kind of like toying with like good guy, bad guy, but then we also have another bad guy, which are like sort of like a sub, like there were like four different levels of like good people and bad people and like anti-hero X-Men and regular X-Men. And I really like how many different like levels and nuance there is, because I feel like it also like relates to the world. Like there's so much nuance, and like everyone has a different opinion from the next person, even if you think they have the same opinion as you. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I think let's see.
And and that, kids, is what
There,
happens when you don't have your charger.
it's all right. It's funny because it put you as in you're here twice. Let's see. I'm gonna remove Aaron Rhodes,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna report you to Zoom. I'm gonna remove.
Oh, you're a gentleman.
There we go. It asked me, do I want to report you, and I decided not
Oh, you like to cut your joke.
to. So we were just stating that like there are so many layers to this. Again, there's mutants, there's humans, then there's mutants that disagree with each other. There's humans that disagree with each other. Their tactics, everything. X-Men kind of does that. Like the MCU, other Marvel properties, a lot of the time it's like there's bad guys and there's good guys, and maybe there's some one random guy that's in it for himself, but like even on the X-Men alone, they all have different views and tactics, right?
Yes, exactly. Like every one of them has their own reason for being there and how they got there, and that's what you really love about the X-Men, is because the X-Men is probably one of the first teams that really like utilize like, yeah, even though you have done all these things, it's okay. You can still turn your life around and be this person. Like, of course, other teams have done this, like Avengers, Justice League, and everybody. But I feel like X-Men emphasized that fact with them, especially like of course with Magneto, Rogue, and everything, which that is something we will be talking about later as we get into the to the show. But I did want to go touch back on Sunspot. I actually wasn't. I actually liked him as the jump in like point of view teen character. He's of course you can tell that he's going to be the trope of the rich guy who always thinks that he's better than everybody. He can buy his way out of everything, and of course Jubilee is there to I feel like will be the level of them, like will be his leveler. And I didn't expect me to like them together or even expect them. Like I would never think to put Jubilee and Sunspot in something together and it go well. But I'm like, it works in a way that I'm not upset about.
Are you saying as friends or romantically?
TBD.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Like I don't want them to be endgame, dear God, no. But I can definitely deal with like a flirtation or like a little showmance for a little bit until they find the real ones, But
if there's anything, Sarah, that you need to know, it's that the X-Men switch partners a lot. They date a lot. They hook up a lot. They go bad and then go good. There's a lot of flip-flopping. There's like that's just part of the drama. The X-Men, because by way of being like a marginalized group, also found family, They're very soap opera. Like,
Yeah. It's like my old drama club in high school.
It is. They are. They're
Yeah.
theater kids. They are.
Oh,
they're
beautiful.
theater
I
kids.
love that. I can relate to that. I mean, I definitely
That's
saw
exactly
that
it.
like with like Rogue and Magneto. I'm like, ooh, what's going on here?
Yes.
It's so much drama.
Like, oh man, remember back in 8th grade? Yeah, it's that moment.
Oh God.
I mean,
I don't want to remember 8th grade.
I don't want it. Very much true. Very
Also-
much true.
also this show makes me root for Cyclops, and I want to hit talk about Cyclops because it also makes me be like,
sure.
Wolverine needs to back up. Because
Uh,
I remember back in the day, everyone's like, yeah, Wolverine, get the girl. And it's like,
yeah.
that's
But as you're watching it now, especially that they're married and
Yeah.
with a whole child in her, like it's like, yeah, bro, you need to back up. Like
Yeah.
it's at some point I was like, it's getting disrespectful. And like there's one moment where Jean, where of course Logan goes off the handle and Jean has to be the one like, Logan, please. And like it's this look that they give each other. Like I would have been like if I was Scott, I just would have been like, no, what is happening? Like I would have easily crept up behind and between them. Like, what's going on with this man?
They got face to face at the basketball thing, right? Like they got face to face, and then like because he had scared away, Wolverine had scared away, Roberto, and
Right.
and that's when they're like, oh, come at me, bub, and it's like, and then Jean's like,
That's a long time.
Logie poo,
Yes,
calm down.
babe.
And it's
you gotta
like,
calm down.
I don't think Cyclops is like jealous. I think he's just like,
No.
okay, Wolverine's kind of like, someone needs to calm him down. It's fine. We'd rather have him on the team than not on the team. Like,
Yeah.
would you guys, just a question for you guys, would you guys kick someone off your superhero team if they were like crushing on your significant other?
So there's a thing. Like I wouldn't. I would be in like Scott's place where like I would be confident in like who I'm with, especially if I'm with you. Like I'm confident that I don't have to worry about anything. But the way he talks to her is a little bit more aggressive into my liking, and the way that she still looks at him is something that I am not too comfortable with.
I don't think
So,
Jean,
yeah.
I don't think Jean looks at Wolverine like she's in love with him. You think?
Yeah.
Sarah, what do you think?
I don't
Yo,
know.
yeah.
I kind of see it as like I don't know. I see her kind of like as like parenting him.
In a way, like
Yeah,
In a way.
I'm like she's scolding him a little. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I would agree with Aaron, but I'm not sure because like I don't know, it's different when you're like a woman.
True,
So
touche.
I don't
Touche.
know. I think maybe I would kick the person off.
yeah, like well, you can see that like I don't know whether like Jean is uncomfortable by Logan. It's just she's like, that's
Yeah.
Logan.
Right.
It is weird.
Who else but Logan?
Yeah. Quagmire.
Right.
That's what it's kind of like, and then
Mhm.
Logan's like giggity giggity.
Right.
Well, it is kind. Is it like a Lois Griffin Quagmire situation? I don't know.
It in the beginning it kind of is. It definitely in the comics it is. Like I'm glad they kind of cleaned that up a little bit more as time goes on because it's giving like it's aggressive. It's an aggressive thing with Wolverine.
Yeah.
And like as it goes on, it makes it softer. But yeah,
it's a little uncomfortable. But let's talk about Cyclops because
for sure.
Because
Yes.
here's the thing: everybody who had watched the X-Men series, let's just say the mainstream public, that had watched the X-Men series and had not really digested X-Men since, or they watched the X-Men movies and like Cyclops doesn't do anything in the X-Men movies. Like he just doesn't. And Storm doesn't either. Like Cyclops and Storm barely do anything in the X-Men movies. And people are coming at it being, with this idea that like Cyclops is a boring character He's a Boy Scout. He's weak. And in this first episode, he like busts in and like kicks ass.
So cool. Yeah.
Right? Like
super
I thought
cool.
Yes, right. I thought the big thing I liked was the way they're utilizing his like eye beams in this more. Like you only see him like be like a leader, but like you never see him like the thing when he pushed him and Sunspot off, like so they wouldn't shoot him. I was like, what the hell is he doing? And then when the plane scene when they all like just fall out of the sky and everybody looks at each other like, well, it's a Tuesday, let's go in formation. And like everybody just like grabs their prospective person and he's just like, all right, I'll see y'all on the ground, and just uses his laser beam to parachute down. I'm like, that was a baller move. I very much have been I don't really care about Scott Summers in any shape or fashion, but honestly, I put respect on his name. Like more and more in the comics and in the show, like they did a good job and they did a great like depiction of him.
Yeah. Did like Sarah, who's your favorite X-Men so far? Like from what you've seen, like who are the interesting ones?
You guys are literally like not convincing me to watch these X-Men movies because Scott and Storm are my favorite characters. I'm like,
yeah.
No way can I watch these movies now because like literally these are my two favorite characters. I love them so much. There's literally no one I love more.
Okay.
I have so many thoughts about episode 2.
So
anyway,
so many.
Cyclops is not one of my favorite characters, but he is a character I respect and I love, and I like team books, like team comics. Like I like the team and the family, and like that's how it works. But Storm is like, I'm wearing a Storm shirt. Like Storm is one of my favorite characters of all time in any comic. Like Storm is also like just one of the most powerful female characters in any fiction. Like
she's so cool.
Like Storm is the best, and the fact that they nerfed her in the movies sucks. But I do have to stand up for one of my favorite movies of all time, my favorite X-Men movie of all time, which is X-Men Days of Future Past. So X-Men Days of Future Past is I think the best X-Men movie. And people will bring up Logan, but Logan was not an X-Men movie. It was just, it didn't have that like flash and substance that I wanted. So Sarah, I would say, since you know who the Sentinels are, and you know roughly who these X-Men are, you could watch Days of Future Past and be fine. And I think it's a fun movie. It's the first time we really see like the live action X-Men be like a military group. Like they have like combat and skills and whatnot. I think it might be worth it, but that's up to you. If you ever want to watch an X-Men movie,
there's some gems. Like you know, like I don't think that they've done you justice in explaining these, but watch X2. Like I mean, like
X-Men
X2
1,
is still
X-Men 2, I think still hold
up.
Up.
X-Men 1 is a very slow movie for some. Like I definitely started off with X2 and then I watched back to X1. But like, cause I didn't know it existed. I was young. I was impressionable. But I ended up like watching it back. But it's still a pretty decent movie. Like you know, like both movies hold up.
I was a little kid when I watched X-Men 1 in theaters, and they talk a lot of politics in that movie. So like, it kind of is cool coming at it from an adult mindset, because you're like, oh, let's talk about the Mutant Registration Act and whatnot. But this show is definitely like, I'm cool. I would rather like, Sarah have not watched anything before this and coming at X-Men, coming at it like X-Men 97 with the best stuff, as opposed to like if she had been like me and like watching all the movies as they came out, like you would have been so let down and tired by this point. That's where I'm coming from. I am so ecstatic that this is going well, and I'm ecstatic that it's bringing in new fans. People that can love it from this point onwards, as opposed to like people who have got their heart broken multiple times by the Fox movie.
Oh God.
Right. For us who are in the trenches, just sitting there, just dying on the branch.
Yeah.
But we made it. We made it, and we're here.
Look,
What?
this is
Don't let
really
them.
encouraging.
Don't let us discourage you. As much shit as I talk about it right now, I honestly don't hate the X-Men movies. I don't. I can't explain enough. Like the Days of Future Past, I didn't hate Apocalypse, honestly. Like it wasn't, it could have definitely been better, but it was still good for what it was. Like, and especially since you're new to the X-Men and you haven't really like read them, I think it'll be good for you like going into those like the newer ones more, maybe. I feel like
Maybe you
those will
guys can
work.
just send me a list.
I could pare down. I think I could like pare down a list for you and like what I think is worth it. But
I'm gonna rewatch the X-Men movies now, guys. Thanks for this.
I got a poster of Days of Future Past in my living room. Like Days of Future Past, I will rep to like nobody can tell me it's bad because it's not. It's just not.
I feel it.
It's
not though. It's really good.
Are you guys a fan of animation in general?
Yes.
Yeah.
What are your guys' favorite animated shows? Like, what would you compare to this?
Shut up! Get out of my mind, Sarah!
I don't even need to think about it.
Avatar.
I was literally about to say the same thing. That's hilarious. I literally just got done rewatching the live action of it. Yeah, it's Avatar for sure. There's another one that I want to say, but for some reason the one that comes to mind is the Ninja Turtle show cartoon with the
Nickelodeon. Yeah.
Which one?
Yes, the Nickelodeon with their like powered weapons.
Oh
yeah,
Rise.
The last one, that fight. Yes,
it was called Rise.
The Ninja Turtles, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah, it was the fights at the end of that show were amazing.
Did you watch the movie that they like released?
Yeah, not the recent one, not the one that came out last year.
Yeah, so
I haven't seen it yet
because they had two seasons of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then they had one TV movie that came out, and like that finishes it off, and like those fight scenes were really good.
There are like that boss scene at the end of it. I rewinded it so many times. I was like, what is going on right now? Like this is some like Dragon Ball Z anime type stuff, and I'm loving every single moment of it. And I'm not a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. Like I used to watch it like a little bit as a kid, but never like die hard, like live true to it. But that show made me a fan. I was like, okay, I get it. I like it.
Avatar is really good. I'm watching. Yeah. I've never watched Korra, but I just started watching it, so I'm trying.
Oh yeah, Korra is really good.
A lot of people hate it, but
I love that for you.
I like it enough. Like there's nothing.
There's nothing to hate. It's just very different.
It's a genre change, right? There's a difference in genre.
It's a new time. It's a new era, and like
the
only I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's only one reason people don't like her.
I know the end. I know the end with
not that that part. But also that part, of course. But it's a part that happens in the middle that people blame her, and I did too.
Oh yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay, don't spoil it for me.
Right.
All right, I'm almost done with season 1. So you're saying
that you're pretty close.
Oh, right. I'm gonna see you almost there.
Okay. Okay.
You're gonna be upset.
Okay.
I just want you to know that, but it's gonna be okay.
All right.
Say convergence. Is this what we're talking about?
Okay. No. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. No. All right. So, so when it comes to this animation, I was afraid this animation would be cheap. A lot of people were "Oh, this animation's cheap. It looks bad. The changes." But it's like, I thought it worked. I didn't see any cheapness in this. Did you guys see cheap? Yeah. Like, did it seem cheap to you?
No, it was gorgeous. Like the animation, it was definitely like something new. It kind of felt like a mix between animation and comics, but it was really nice. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like the way I was skeptical too, because they said they were going to try to keep the format, and it looked like, you could tell like they were trying to keep some of the format of the old, but like you can clearly see as it went on, like it kind of gave, what it kind of reminded me of? Did you see the X-Men animated series, that like the anime series that they had?
Oh, I never saw that one.
It kind of gives you that kind of feel. I think you'll like it if you have time to randomly watch that. It's like a few episodes, but yeah, it gave me that kind of feel. It gives me like an anime moment when especially when that big fight at the end of the first episode, and like
Oh yeah,
even
that's
with
true.
certain, yeah, right, and even with like certain episodes, not certain episodes, but the scene at the trial in episode 2.
Oh yeah.
Like it's totally gives me an anime vibe, and I love it.
Yeah. I mean, the animation just was really good, and it was fluid, and I liked it.
Yeah. The powers work, like everything, like even Bishop's, like the new little, like the purple like streaming in his back on his arms as he absorbs the energy. Yeah, I was like, that's a cool addition. I was
Is
like,
that new?
Yeah, they didn't have that before. Like even like Jean's little crown, telepathic crown thing. I like it.
I remember when I was a kid, I didn't know what Bishop's powers were, because he didn't really use his powers that much. He just
did
like shot guns.
Yes,
that was like his power. His power was guns.
Right.
So as we like go through the episode, there's a lot of things in the background, and just like some of them are like little things, and then some of them are like Easter eggs and cameos and whatnot. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the Friends of Humanity were in a building that was called Hip Skate Party. So I think it was like a roller rink or something, or something. But some of the letters were missing, and it instead of hip skate, it was hate. So it's hate party, and that's on the outside of the building.
That's great.
It was just like,
I love that, actually.
Yeah, it's like a little thing. Does it add to the story? Like, it doesn't really add much.
Yeah.
But like,
but
like
it does
emphasizes.
though, kind of.
It's the theme, right? Like, it's a hate party.
Yeah.
Friends of Humanity.
And that was one of the things I did want to talk about on it, about Sunspot, because I did like that we're using the racial metaphor with actual people of color.
Yeah.
And like, the chilling moment of him saying in the first episode, "I'm not like the mutants that you see on TV. I'm one of the good ones." And you like it, powerful. It set the stage of what this is going to be, and what the X-Men is a metaphor for. And I'm glad that we're actually like, they didn't skate past it, or they didn't, give us, one of the white counterparts to like convey moments there, even though there's
that
a moment
Gray
in
scene,
episode 2.
We'll get to it.
I'm glad that you knew what I was talking about, but we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. But I'm with you. Like the fact is that a lot of people love the idea of like marginalized, like the metaphor of marginalized communities, but they still want their white straight characters to then be the marginalized community because of their mutant X gene.
Right.
What they fail to realize is that some of these characters are still people of color, and still some of these characters have they're either they're non-binary like Morph, or maybe they're bi or bi-curious or bi-hinted like Gambit,
right.
And people are like, no, this is woke garbage. Just wondering, did you guys at any point go scream at the TV woke garbage and then turn off the TV?
Yeah, did it constantly.
Right, you caught me. The first 10 minutes it was already off, and I was already saying my prayers.
Yeah, I'm not actually on this podcast. I'm just joking.
This was all a dream. I absolutely loved it, and I wanted I wanted every single moment of it. I didn't think it was forced. I did, and like, come on now, I'm a big black man. There are certain things that I'm gonna love, but I didn't feel like it was. I know when I know when, someone's trying to force something at me or throw something at me for, the views, and it didn't feel like it was trying to push an agenda. It didn't feel like it was trying to, just like be like, oh, we're going to make this as woke as ever. We're going to talk about race this time. And like, it just felt like this is what the X-Men were and what we've already been, leading up to. And I absolutely love the way they did it. Like even the morph being non-binary now, and like attention to all the people
Super
who are in an
subtle too.
uproar. Very subtle. Like you don't like they're not just like out with it, just being like, I'm non-binary. Like, it's a very like, they're just them, and I love it.
Yeah.
Like it's not and for the people out there who are up in odds for Morph being non-binary, where was all this energy when they were here in like out in the atmosphere? Like, like no one was checking for them in the first season when they just like when the X-Men left them behind and had to fend for themselves. Like this is a whole new like y'all are giving a lot of smoke to somebody who y'all did not care for, but I hope y'all keep the same energy as they go through this time of transition, and I hope y'all support them with this same energy that they have now. All right, but
it's so weird out like people choosing what to be up in
very
arms.
much so.
So
right.
it's been almost a week since the episode came out, and people were saying that Gambit looks too gay.
It's the crop top.
It's the crop top, but that was also the style.
Like, right.
I mean, I would say the style is more late 80s than
right.
97.
That's what it gives me. It gives me like a late 80s, like a very early 90s.
Quote unquote straight men wore crop tops in like the late 80s, and that was just their like style.
Yeah, I got the feeling that he hasn't like changed his closet in at least a decade or two, maybe 3.
Right, and it's like also, why can't Gambit be bi?
Right, like come on now, and like Rogue has 2 moms. Like she's totally cool with the gang. All right, she's totally cool with the Alphabet Gang. Okay, like let's be.
Sarah, did you hear about the recent comic book retcon with Mystique and Nightcrawler?
Yes, I have heard about it, but I haven't read it.
Okay. Mystique is Nightcrawler's father?
I literally keep that
in a way.
That one near me.
Yeah, it's in that issue.
Yeah.
So like X-Men's always, X-Men's always X-Menning. You know what I mean? Right.
Pushing the envelope, doing the things. Like, and recently, can I say? Oh no, you know what? Because it leads into it kind of goes into what happens in episode 2.
Oh,
I wait.
Okay. Let's.
I'm so excited to talk about it.
So in this first episode, I mean, we get so many like little jokes about like side stuff that like longtime X-Men fans are gonna like pick up on. Like, what do you do? Shoot gold balls out of yourself? Because that'd be weird. There's a literal mutant named Gold Ball that shoots gold balls out of his body. Not gold balls as like they're actual balls. Gold balls.
Yeah.
It's not like Goldmember from Austin Powers or anything. It's like
it's not the
orbs of gold that he like. That's his mutant power. So I thought like, okay, they're doing that. There's also like a sign or like a newspaper that like flies, and it was like mutant fashion show. And
I saw that.
I looked at all of them and I was like, I know each and every one of them. Jumbo's not on that one.
Oh, I'm gonna watch. I have not been paying attention.
But like, it was Dust, Banshee, Stacy X, Maggot, Nature Girl, and Loa are all on there. And like, they don't say who they are, but I'm like, I know each and every one of them.
I see them.
I paused it. And I was like, all right. But yes, so we get introduced to the character of Valerie Cooper, which to my knowledge was not in the original series, but I could be wrong.
No.
But we get introduced to Valerie Cooper, who is essentially the mutant human liaison to either the UN or the FBI or the CIA or whatever. And Valerie Cooper is screaming girl boss to me, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
The question
Always.
is she to be trusted?
I think
She reminds me
yes
of
and
Gina
no.
Linetti a little.
Shut up! Yes, I
Brooklyn?
love that.
From Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, you
Huh.
know, Gina, she's able to like do whatever she wants. She's able to get away with it. She's able to use her words to
Yeah.
like not force somebody, but like just like she comes across with so much
Nudge them in the
energy that
right
it's like,
direction.
yes, okay,
Yeah.
fine, I will do what you want.
I can see it.
Yeah,
Huh.
but
I
she
really-
could be like a powerful enemy with her
Yes.
words.
Right.
Yes, I completely agree. I feel like she's one. Like I feel like they're going to go into it like they do in the comics. Like she's always given like she's one step from being your like enemy, but she's like, you know, kind of a friend sometimes when the wind blows in the right direction, and you know, if it suits her, you know, like
Yeah.
it's one of those things. Like if it doesn't go against her, then she's going to go for you, kind of thing. And I kind of want to see where they go with her.
Yeah. She's
Mhm.
very dubious in a way.
Yeah.
But she's not bad. So
And that's what I like.
somebody she was mentioned recently on one of the Cerebro cast episodes stating
Mhm.
that like Valerie Cooper is very much like Abigail Brand, like a morally
Yes.
gray character, but Abigail Brand kind of went the extra
watched it.
step, so that's why Valerie
Yeah.
Cooper doesn't do much in the comics anymore.
Mhm.
And so like Abigail Brand kind of took that like baton and ran with it. But Valerie Cooper is in this, and it seems like she's trying to do good, but we'll see.
Right.
I also, by the way, I'm throwing this out there. I think at a certain point she's gonna be Mystique. I think
yeah.
I think Mystique
Yeah.
is somebody in disguise. Somewhere,
For sure.
somehow in this series, Mystique is gonna be in
For
disguise.
sure. I hope they keep up with the comic lore on this like they did in the original one, because like that's gonna I kind of want a Mystique being somebody moment. Like
Yeah.
we need that.
Yeah. So also I noticed that Cyclops has more attitude. He's kind of a dick.
Hmm.
Like he has a very
Yeah.
short fuse.
But he has a lot more personality now.
Yeah.
And we love that for him.
Yeah. All right, I wanna bring up the scene in the interrogation room with Henry Peter Gyrick, and
Yes.
like he is being interrogated by the X-Men. Did that mean anything to anyone? He has a whole speech. He says, "The more room we make for your kind, the less we have for ourselves.
Yes.
Tolerance is extinction."
Yeah, it kind of reminded me like almost of the MCU. I was like, I see some stuff here, maybe like Secret Invasion stuff, Endgame stuff. There was a bunch of like, I was like, ooh, this is like a theme that's come up a couple of times, whether it's like Marvel or the MCU. So it's definitely something that was like familiar to me, but like I was confused who the guy was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they mentioned in the beginning that like, oh, he's the guy who like killed Xavier or like tried to assassinate Xavier.
Right.
and,
Yeah.
like, that was it.
Yeah.
But he's essentially a government guy that tried to,
Right.
assassinate Xavier. I forget exactly what happens, but I don't know whether it's pertinent. What I do like is how this show is answering a lot of people's questions of people have been basically asking for a long time, like, why do people hate mutants and like the Avengers? Like, why would they like other superpowered people but hate mutants? And something that I've been trying to tell people is it's not about the powers, it's about the idea of replacement. And
yes.
like what this tolerance is extinction and the more room we make for your kind, the less we make about ourselves, is an argument made about immigrants. And it's also the argument that those Tiki Torch guys were making, and like they shall not replace us, right? Like that whole thing in real life. It's not just the existence of somebody else; it's also that they've warped it into this thought of like they will be replaced.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's also another, I mean, this is like my biology brain coming out. Like, it's another level that, like, they have something different about them on, like, a cellular level,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just, like, I mean, when you think of, like, the Hulk, like, oh no, he got injected with something, but, like, he's still basically human. And,
Right.
like,
He's still
Iron
that guy.
Man is just, like, a genius who built all of these things. And again, Captain
Right.
America, another guy who got injected with things. But like, these guys are, like, born this way with, like, things different on the inside,
Right.
as opposed to, like, something that's been altered within them already.
The next stage of human evolution,
Exactly.
right? Like, nobody wants.
Exactly.
Doesn't he mention he's like, who mentioned something? So it was either Executioner or Friends of Humanity or something that mentioned that oh no, it's Bolivar Trask. He says he's obsolete and he feels left behind by the future, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, humanity's obsolete. If the mutants are the next step, then humans are obsolete and they're left behind, and nobody wants to feel that way. And that sucks, but also, come on, man.
Yeah.
What do you
Like,
do?
and that's what the thing. That's the one thing I always never understood them. I'm like, it's not like they're. It's not like they're a whole different species from you. They're literally your next step of evolution. Like, it's not that they're that different from you, because on many occasions they've proven that mutants are humans. Like,
Yeah.
especially I'm rewatching the old seasons now, and even in the first season, they emphasize the Sentinels coming for them, saying they programmed the Sentinels to come for the mutants, and the Sentinels come to the conclusion that mutants are humans, therefore I must hunt humans as well.
Yeah.
And then you come to that, like, then you're like, oh yes, we're all alike at the end of the day. And that's the one thing I do actually like, that they do emphasize the fear as to why it's happening, not just giving us they're hated and feared. We see throughout the show what's going on, and I love the speeches that are given throughout the show. Even Henry Gyrick's, it meant something, because it's kind of, it was real. Like, when he said when she was like, when Storm said your actions only helped us to our mutant cause, he said, "You're Vogue, honey."
Yeah.
It's a fad. And he's right, because, like, how many times have it takes these big things for it to happen, for people to be like, oh yes, we need to help these people. But at the end of the day, it is something that, with certain people in certain cases, unfortunately ends up going back into the corner, and people put up that cause.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things I was like, it was powerful for him saying that, like, especially the scenes that we talk about going into the next episode.
Yeah. We get this huge fight scene with the X-Men, with Master Mold. We mentioned that Storm brings out the whole tornado. We get some, like, really good, like, everybody fights in different ways.
Yes. I absolutely love the fight scene.
Yeah. To the point where, like, Beast jumps into it doesn't make any sense. It makes, like, it's comic book logic. Of course, you can jump into a robot and control the robot, like, like Inside Out Ratatouille, Like,
shut up! Oh my god, Ratatouille is wild.
Like, that doesn't make any sense, but okay. I mean, it makes as much sense as Ratatouille does,
Touche.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be fun if the Sentinel wore a hat and Beast was in the hat.
Yes.
Easter egg by Disney.
Yes. Season 2, guys. Season 2. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, I did. I loved everybody's fight. Everybody had different fight styles. I love the combos they use. I'm sorry, the mutant technologies that were used in this new one. But yeah, like the whole everyone's gonna talk about it. The Gambit and Wolverine, like, claw thing.
Yeah.
The whole time, like, for a split second, I was like, wouldn't you explode? But then I was like, adamantium is indestructible, so I guess that makes sense. So I mean, I guess you'll survive.
So here's the problem. Do you guys think Wolverine exploded? Nikhil Clayton mentioned on his TikTok that
Mhm.
he paused it frame by frame and he's like, Wolverine's exploding here. Like, he turns purple, he blows up, and we don't
Yeah.
see him until later he's in tattered clothes. Do you guys think that Wolverine blew up?
I
I
wouldn't
need
be
to go back
surprised,
and watch
honestly.
it.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I can definitely see it. Like,
Yeah, and it just didn't show him
yeah.
like coming out like a mangled mess.
Right.
But the
I feel like we'll see it
adamantium,
one day.
the adamantium wouldn't explode, right? But like
Right.
or the adamantium would explode, but would still keep its
Right.
structure, which means just his body
Yeah.
parts exploded off his skeleton.
Just right,
And then
just
healed,
as a
and then
regular
healed,
fighting type.
he healed back up. Then he's like, all right.
Right.
It's gross. It's gross, but
Fair.
Okay.
It's effective.
okay.
It's effective. It works, you know.
Yeah, it's like SpongeBob. Wow.
Why, SpongeBob can do that?
Yes.
Like, yeah, I mean that little character blows up at least every episode. It's fine. Then next second, he's like, I'm fine.
Just,
It's all
it's all
good.
good. It's all good.
Okay, someone needs to do a mashup of like, I'm ready, and running towards the Sentinel.
It just blows up. I love it. Yes, I want it. You know whose fighting style I actually really did like as well? Morphs.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, I love that they they switch into different XTX related characters.
Yeah.
Like and each time, like, and I was the fight when they turn into Psylocke and like go into like a bunch
Lady
of different characters.
Deathstrike,
Yes.
Archangel.
Yeah. Blob.
Blob. I think he can get like well, also, do we know, I know that like Morph is non-binary, but does Morph go by, like, we don't know Morph's pronouns, right? Because Morph could be non-binary, but still go by.
No, they
right.
go by they,
Do they?
because I like, this was my confirmation at the end
Yes.
credits. They went
Mhm.
through like all of the different characters and like a little description, and I like rewatched it and I was like, okay, there's she her pronouns for Jean, but there's they them pronouns for Morph.
I'm
So
gonna
it's
go back and watch
Okay,
the hell
all
out of
right.
these episodes, guys.
Because
end credits.
Yeah.
because we
That-
brought up like Loki is like gender fluid, but Loki goes by
Mhm.
he him
Mhm.
Yeah, until proven otherwise.
until
Right.
yeah,
Right. Until the moon strikes.
until Loki
Yeah.
is as like Lady
I mean,
Lady Loki.
He's a tree right now, so like, well, he's probably he him forever.
Okay, cool. Good to know though. But then yeah, Morph takes the physical abilities. So if there are mutant abilities that are physical, like wings, like claws, like the
Right.
Blob,
Mhm.
Morph can take those, but
Right.
Morph can't shoot optic blasts. We
Right.
you know, those are not physical. Those are powered abilities.
Mhm.
And so it is cool to see them like glide with Archangel's wings and use the claws,
Right.
but they just won't be adamantium,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Morph
Yeah.
can't turn
They're-
into adamantium.
No, but they're strong enough because like there's that moment when they turn into Psylocke and they're using the swords, like they morph their body into swords or something. So I'm like, it has to be strong enough. Like maybe they can morph themselves into that material, maybe, and that might be a
Maybe.
you know.
It's worth looking into. Somebody did mention that like technically the swords should be like flesh.
Yeah, technically they're flesh, like for real,
Like
yeah.
it's an extension
like-
of Morph. So
Just like the clothes, like I feel like him and them and Mystique.
yeah,
I feel like they both wear that. They're naked all the time.
yeah.
They just morph clothes on.
Yeah. So at the end of episode 1, after everything, we get the Magneto ending that Magneto is like, oh yeah, I own everything now. Like I run it.
So good.
Yeah. And we get
So
that
good.
ending. And it's like, by the way, I do hate Magneto's costume. That's just me. This
I've
costume,
never been a fan.
this costume I hate. I think it could have been better, but
Yeah. for
I
sure.
don't like the bicep high gloves. Like I like the
It
sleeveless,
was-
but like I don't
It's-
know.
it's his cunty era, and we love that for him. And just it's a moment for him.
Yeah.
He and like I personally am not a fan either. I personally hate that costume with every part of my soul. But it's a moment for him. You know, it's during his soft era. You know, I'll give it that.
I'm like, what does the M stand for? Moo? Because it's like he's wearing like a moo.
It's Magneto. It's Magnus if you're nasty.
All right, so I mean that's episode 1. Do we have any thoughts about how episode 1 finished before we get to episode 2?
I like the changes that they made in this. Like, you know, like I was very skeptical because you know, especially with new stuff, you don't know if they're going to keep with the original stories, or like, you know, deter. But honestly, I didn't mind the changes that were made in the first one. I absolutely love that we get, like I said in the beginning, like they perfectly explain where we're at now and going into like where we're going, and it gives a but when we were talking about like on I think the last episode we did, you were talking about how if you like a beginning that starts off really big and or like starts off like ease its way into it, and I feel like this kind of encapsulated both.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the beginning episode started off like slow, but it also gave us what we needed to know and like got us ready for what happens in episode 2.
Yeah. I mean, Master Mold being the villain, like Master Mold's not the end game. Like Master Mold is just there for that episode. We get to see some cool things happen, and then we start ramping up into who is the actual villain in this season.
Exactly.
And we don't know yet, but at the end of episode 2, we got some thoughts. So, beginning of episode 2 starts off with we see a kid with a Walkman in the Ferris wheel. Ferris wheel is falling. Did anyone get Star-Lord? Like I saw a kid with a Walkman, but then I realized it's the 90s. Oh my God, yeah. Of course. You know what I mean? Like every kid had a Walkman. Not
true,
me.
Touche.
But you know.
That'd be so cool if that was canon.
But it,
right.
You know,
I mean, maybe it's the late 80s.
We have not seen any hints of other characters except on
Spider-Man.
The newspaper. Yeah, did you read that part?
Yep. That was the one part that I'm like, I know this.
On the newspaper in episode 1, in the beginning, it says, "Is Spider-Man a mutant?" ?
The iconic newspaper. I love it.
That newspaper said a couple of things. It showed the mutant fashion show, but it also said Hellfire Gala, something with that, and then it said, "Is Spider-Man a mutant?" And so,
guys,
I mean, Spider-Man's the only character that made an actual direct crossover with the X-Men cartoon back in the day. There were other characters in the backgrounds, like Doctor Strange or whatnot, but like Spider-Man is the only one. So I thought that was interesting. We
and Captain America.
Oh yeah, that's right, Captain America in that.
Are we just talking about old comics? Because I'm staring at a comic right now with Ms. Marvel and the X-Men.
The old cartoon. The cartoon only. The comics, everybody's crossed over. Yeah. But like the cartoon, Captain America was in an episode. Yes, I forgot about that one. And then Spider-Man had like a 2-episode crossover.
I don't remember the Spider-Man one.
It was like a crossover. So Spider-Man was like slowly turning into Man-Spider or whatever. And like he's like, I don't want to be a freak. You know who is also freaks? Mutants. Let me go talk to them. Like, it's kind of like that vibe of like.
Yeah, he always gave that vibe for them. Yeah,
it's.
I'll help them, but I'm not one of them.
It's like a kid who like like a rich kid who's like, oh, I now have no money. I've been cut off by my parents. You know who I should talk to? My poor ass friend.
Yes,
he'll probably
like
have
Friends. Literally Friends. The plot of Friends.
Oh. Oh yeah, that is the plot of Friends. Rachel, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't put that together. Okay. Okay, so with this episode, we see Magneto saving people from the Ferris wheel. We see the Friends of Humanity, dealing with their stuff. We see the guy who will be Executioner loading up. Once I saw the inhibitor collar being plugged into the gun, I was like, oh,
this is it. Yeah,
this is something.
This is the moment.
Yeah. How are you guys feeling about Magneto at the beginning of this episode? Because he was coming at like the Friends of Humanity hard when he was in the Morlock tunnel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I loved it. I thought it was really good. Like the whole that whole fight of him coming in and like taking them down and not only that but showing restraint. Like I loved it. Like he just did like basically a world tour of just saving everybody's life, and I was like, okay, I'm for this. Like it made me be able to bear the M costume.
Yeah, I really liked his introduction. He also did like another like Storm introduction. He's like, I'm Magneto, and haha. Yes. Yeah, but I also I know his character a little bit more because of like that one thing that we have in common.
Right.
But yeah, I really liked like the way that he also was kind of like restraining himself just based off of like the context that I got from the previous episode. It seems like he hasn't in the past. And yeah, so I really kind of like that. Like even though none of the other X-Men were there to see him show that restraint, he still did it.
Yeah.
Yes.
The two best monologuers in this show are Storm and Magneto.
Period.
Like they have the best line. Like Magneto says, something about like denying these outcasts the indignity of your waste. Like the fact is like the Morlocks live in the sewers and you're still hunting them. Is that not
all right
that they live in your sewers?
Yeah. I thought that hit so hard. I was like, you're spitting facts.
Oh my gosh. Right? The whole scene, I was just sitting there like, yes, speak King. Like when he said me and my people were hunted for calling our God by a different name.
Yeah.
And then my people hunted helped the people who hunted us to hunt me. I got chills. I was literally, as he was going into it, I was like, he's only like, I hear no lies. Like that whole speech was so powerful, and it set the tone. I was absolutely floored, and they did it so beautifully, y'all.
It brings up some thoughts in my own head about like anti-intersectionalism in civil rights movements.
Yes,
because like there were so many gay civil rights leaders that were like they pushed them to kind of the back because they were gay,
right?
But they were making progress, and they weren't what they wanted at that time. Like I don't know,
and it's sad because they were the main ones, pushing the big issues for like a lot of these like civil rights movements, but they never got the credit because of their sexual orientation.
Right.
Yeah.
Same with women of color in the suffrage movement.
Right.
Yeah. Also, same with women in science. Like,
oh my gosh,
this is like across the board for, I think, every single minority group.
Yeah.
Oh man. Totally.
Yeah.
Magneto, best lines. He also mentions that he's sending the Morlocks to Genosha.
Yes.
I'm afraid. Sarah doesn't know. Sarah, you don't know about Genosha, right?
No, but I'm assuming this is like some mutant place.
Genosha.
No.
Aaron, you want to give Sarah the rundown?
May
I? You do, or you could do it.
I can. So Genosha is how I first got into reading X-Men comics. So I'm always going to be scarred for this. So Genosha was a slaver's bay for mutants that the mutants overcame, and they became a mutant nation. So
it was Magneto, an apartheid. It was an apartheid nation first.
It was an apartheid nation.
Humans ran it, but had mutant slaves, and
Right.
workforce, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, then eventually Magneto runs Genosha, but then this big Sentinel comes in and destroys the whole nation within minutes, and
Like a
they
wave
kill
of
over.
Sentinels. Yeah.
Right. It's a big wave of Sentinels, and it's 16 million mutants die. And and at that point endangers make the mutants an endangered species. So
Mutants
that's
become
what
endangered later with decimation. But yeah, sorry.
decimation. You're right. You're completely right. You're
Decimation is
completely
the
right. Yeah,
endangered
for
version.
sure. Yeah, but yeah,
basically, yeah.
that's a moment.
Genosha starts off anti-mutant. Magneto takes it over, makes it anti-human, and gives mutants a nation with Genosha. But then, yeah, the wave of Sentinels come in and they kill 16 million, and they just obliterate everybody. And so that hasn't happened yet, and it makes me scared.
They're gonna pull the trick on that
they're gonna do that because it's a target. Genosha being a mutant, like, I don't know. It's just and that's why, like, later on in the comics when they create Krakoa, they don't want to make the same mistake, and so they have to they don't want Krakoa to go the way of Genosha.
Exactly. That's why, Genosha sets the tone for other nations that fall behind it, because it makes the gravity of what they're doing so much bigger because of what can happen, and just because of who you are and because of all these people who have powers in one place. They're going to be scared and they're going to hate us. They're going to fear and hate us for what it is. So yeah, that's why I feel like people who read X-Men comics, I feel like you should know about Genosha before going into especially Krakoa.
Yeah, it's so the fact that the Morlocks are going to Genosha scares me.
Yes.
Then we get the talk. This is what we were laughing about earlier.
Oh my God! Yes.
Jean Grey being. It's funny. It is funny. They're mutants. I get it, but it's Jean Grey talking to Storm about out of all people, Jean Grey talking to Storm I'm just scared. I wish my kid maybe comes out a human. One day I'll have to tell my kid that it's not safe out there for them, that they are different, blah 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 blah. So
that the world will hate them for just being who they are.
Storm's in the back thinking, I mean, I'm glad that she finally realized it, I guess, after all this time.
But as I look down at my skin tone, girl. That's she essentially, for those who don't know, Jean is essentially talking about the initial talk that every Black child has to have with their mother or father. The world will will not always is not always fair to you. And the whole time I saw it, I was like, this is still good, but I was sitting there laughing the whole time. I was like, girl, I was like, I think you and Scott, you will be all right with your baby.
I mean, hopefully. I think it's funny because
and we know they won't.
There's so many layers. There's so many
layers to it. There's so many layers to it. It was still I speaking of which, to even talk about that, it was a good moment for Jean and Storm.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest thing. The first thing I wrote as I was writing notes about the show, because I literally started watching it and I was writing it, but then I literally stopped because I got mesmerized by the show, and I was like, oh wait, I gotta do notes. So I started when I started, the first thing I wrote was love Jean and Storm's relationship, and that is one of the big things that I absolutely loved about this. I always, one of my biggest gripes about them in the comics and in anything is the fact that we talk about that that they're best friends and they are sisters, but we don't get to see moments of them actually being like the sisters that they say they are.
Yeah.
And the moment that they have in that having the room and her talking about how she kind of low-key wishes that her child would be human, I love that. Like, and even with like her talking to Storm about like, do you regret leaving and doing it? She's like, yes. And Storm tells her, I regret and sometimes she said, I don't regret anything because it brought me here. I love that. Like that moment of them, and even as it goes on later to them going to what happens to her later, and her Jean supporting Storm during that moment. I thought that was like a really beautiful moment for them. Like, I kind of wanted more of that, and I kind of hope as it gets on we can get some of that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I liked their relationship at the beginning. I did think like
Mhm.
that conversation was kind of like silly goofy. I was like, haha, this is kind of
Right.
ironic.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it.
But
It's
like then like, their conversation at the end when like Storm eventually, I don't know, like skip ahead,
mhm.
but like loses her powers. I'm like,
Mhm.
wait, we're just scratching the iceberg.
Right,
We gotta keep
right,
going. I
right. I
love their
need it.
relationship. Yeah.
Yes. Like, I
Oh.
absolutely love it. Like it they I they just I now you have me thinking about the end of what happened, and it hurt my heart.
Oh my
But I
god.
just
I don't want to like skip
what
ahead. Like Dimitri's gone.
all
It's
right.
like
Let me just hurry and get back so we can talk about stuff. Oh man, it's gonna be so because I just uh I, I do want to see want to see where they go with the Storm story. Like, that's gonna be a good arc, and I'm excited for you to see this because especially since you haven't read the comic, it's gonna be so good.
it's so funny because like I didn't even realize it. I'm like literally sitting in front of a Miss Marvel X-Men comic that I
Mhm.
haven't touched since I got it at like New York Comic Con. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll read some X-Men before I read it. And I never got around. So now it gives me a reason to do this.
Yes. Oh yeah, you'll love that one. The Captain Marvel stuff, when Captain Marvel was an X-Men, it's actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, that's the one time I actually tolerate her.
Wait, are you talking about Carol Danvers when she
Mhm.
gets absorbed by Rogue?
That too, but I
Oh,
was talking about the moments when she joined them to like just be to recover and stuff, and then became that's how she ended up getting her binary power when she goes out of
oh,
space with them.
okay,
Yeah, I like those little moments.
okay,
But yeah, we were talking about Jean and Storm's amazing relationship and
yeah.
how we want to see more of them.
Every time I watch this show or watch or read good X-Men content,
Mhm.
I cry on the inside for all the lost moments that the movies could have had. Like,
Yes.
did we ever get Halle Berry and Famke Janssen just like chilling and like talking
Shooting
and
shit.
like
Right.
being sisters? No.
No,
Halle
at
Berry
all.
barely had anything to do. Like,
Right.
it became the Wolverine show, and like,
Very
I'm
much
glad
so.
this cartoon is not the Wolverine show. Like, Wolverine is doing his job.
Yes.
He's a character. Like,
He's just a supporting character, and I
you know,
love that.
and like, do we? I'm glad this like at least the first two episodes aren't hinging on like Wolverine being like, my memories. Where? Oh. You know, like, okay, we get it, dude. Like,
Thanks. We get it. You're tortured, bro. We
yeah.
understand.
Gene. I wanna talk about a scene that comes up right after that uh it I don't like it. Magneto
Which
and Rogue. I
I
don't
I'm
loved
so
it
intrigued.
actually.
I
I
don't
have where is the love? What is the love?
I love
Somebody
it,
please
and
explain it.
let's talk about it. I don't even know where to begin
so
with this scene. Talk about it. No,
here's a
Dimitri,
little comic
go ahead.
backstory. Here's a little comic backstory.
Hmm.
So Magneto, sure, he is old and he
Hmm.
grew up in the Holocaust, and like that is part of his like story and
Hmm.
whatnot. And sure, him and Xavier, traveled the world together and maybe were lovers. I don't know, right? We do not know. But at a certain point, Magneto in the comics gets de-aged to a baby and then like aged to like a man in his prime. So like biologically, like mentally he is old, but biologically like he's supposed to have like pristine form, We're talking like he's in his 40s, I would say. Like he's a muscular 40s, kind of zaddy sort of character, right?
Yeah, he is indeed zaddy.
So then at a certain point, like him and Rogue get like lost in the Savage Land together, and they're like very primal, and they're barely wearing clothes, and they're surviving. The Savage Land is... This is all X-Men lore.
I feel like we're going through a rabbit hole right now. Like you could keep going.
A lot of X-Men is a rabbit hole.
There is a piece of Antarctica that is hidden that is like a tropical paradise that has dinosaurs and aliens would come in and like experiment on people and like whatever. It's like this hidden part of Antarctica. So the point is that's the Savage Land. And so
don't be scared.
Shout out to Marion Cravens. What's up to Marion? Marion says I would call him a solid 50-year-old Chad.
Okay. Not a 50-year-old Chad. Don't insult him by calling him a Chad.
I don't know if he's a Chad.
I think he's a zaddy.
I think
he's
zaddy.
A zaddy.
I think a zaddy is like a Silver Fox type character.
For sure. I'm calling him Magnus. Like, there's no Eric and all that.
Yeah, Magnus Prime.
Magnus is... Yeah, right. Magnus Prime, indeed. Give me some of that Magnus Prime beef. I'm sorry, that was inappropriate, guys. We're here.
Aaron.
I lost myself, and he just does that to me. I'm sorry, guys.
So they got lost in the Savage Land together, and they had a romance, and like... Because also there's like a side kind of thing where Magneto's magnetism also doesn't get absorbed easily by Rogue. Like he can kind of create an opposite charge,
a thin layer of
so that he can like touch her. And so like Rogue just wants to be touched. Like
that's it.
And I get it. And so then they like that was Magneto when he was like showing his sort of softer side. And he wasn't an outright villain, and they had that, and like it is what it is. I don't know what's going on in this show because you know what this reminds me of The Office, and I want that meme. She is a child. Like,
that's one of my favorite scenes.
Like when Stanley gets
that
mad
girl
at
is a child.
Yeah.
Have you lost your mind? Because I'll help you find it.
Oh my god, I love that scene.
Oh god,
and I'm like,
yes.
I don't know. Magneto in this, as far as I know, hasn't been de-aged. And Rogue, although she is young, she's not that young. But still, what the hell?
They got some explaining to do. Not gonna hold you. I love that they talked about it. I was like, when it happened, I was like, what is happening? The timeline. I need to know the dates. Like,
yeah.
But I will wait to see the flashback, and I will wait to reserve my judgment until then. Because it's like you said, the timeline is murky. Because
also in the flashback, she would have been even younger.
That's it. Like she had to be a child
before her X-Men time. It would have been.
You know what's great though about animation is that they don't have to look super. Like this is one of the things that's been discussed with like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like it's super uncomfy that like Aang and Katara are like getting it on in the animated series, but like they can't physically do that. Like when Gordon Kramer is like a baby, so they have to wait until he grew up so that they can actually justify the height and the age and the sound of his voice. Yeah.
A hot take. I think he's too young. I don't think he's ever going to catch up to Katara. Like in the live action. She's like 5 years younger than her. He's like 5 years younger than her.
I feel like he might hit one of those growth spurts, to be honest. Like I feel like he might
He's really tall right now.
He is a whole 5 years. 5 whole ass years younger than her. I think they're gonna change it for the show.
I don't think so because the way they gave each other the look at the end. So
they did give each other. Anyways, it's Avatar.
Right. We're getting distracted.
But Okay, let's just take it from here. Rogue and Magneto, yay or nay? You guys like it? You guys want to see more of it? Or no?
Yay.
I think I need to know the story. I don't think I want to see the romance, but I want to know the story.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
I love it for her because she needs someone to touch her. And like, I
Okay,
just like,
let's get it straight. Why is this still a problem? Just put an inhibitor collar on Gambit, on Rogue. Don't do it on Gambit.
Rogue, right.
Don't put it on Rogue.
Kind of facts though.
Why
I
can't
don't know
that?
why nobody's thought about like doing that, like, you know, making that a thing. But like, yeah, that's
a
also
great idea.
thing.
Like,
But,
collars
like,
are a thing in real life. Just work that in.
But also, it's probably one of those like mutant like pride things. Like, I don't want to shield myself from who I really am or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know.
I can see it. You know, they're proud people. You know.
I mean, maybe it gets to the point where Magneto, like, Gambit brings up the collar idea, and he has a collar, and they're about to do it, but, like, the collar somehow doesn't work, and then Magneto's like, I've sabotaged it. Now she can only be with me.
I would love it. I don't mind. They honestly, the way I read them in the comics, I liked them. I didn't know of how I would feel about them, but they work in a way that offsets each other, especially since she's like, you know, she's the wild, rambunctious one, and he's the calm and reserved type. And like the way they kind of like, he makes her a little bit more reserved, and she makes him a little bit more wilder. And I kind of like it. I kind of hope we get to see more about it.
They did a similar thing to this, but in the movies, but they didn't do it with Rogue. They did a Magneto Mystique,
yeah,
sort of romance that was very it invoked this relationship.
Yeah,
of like, she is younger, but not that much younger, and
right.
Like, you know, and looking back, I do like that.
Yeah, I did like that.
There was like a will they, won't they kind of relationship between the two of them. And I was like, okay with that. Rogue is too young.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this is one of those like an X-Men lost, one of those X-Men adventures that we didn't get to see, or something in between time of one of those like they get trapped in the Savage Land with each other. I'm hoping it's one of those moments, and we don't get like, oh, when I was in the Brotherhood, I used to, you know, fondle around with him when I was barely a girl.
That's a
and
cult.
I just don't want that. I just like, even if it's just like her being a strong 18, that's too much for me.
That's too much.
Yeah.
But the other part that I want to talk about in that scene was the Charles and Magneto of it all. Because did anybody else hear what he said about the whole why he cut himself off from Charles and why he decided to wear the helmet?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So cute.
I loved it.
Wait, what did he say? I remember this, but what happened?
Okay. So when he talks about what happens that him and Charles used to be able to he used to always feel Charles in his mind, not like reading his mind or dominating it, but we were always just present in his mind, and he was reading his thoughts, he was reading his. But as you know, time grew on and his like ideals starting to get more, you know, radical, he cut himself off, and he knew that he had to cut himself off from Charles because if he knew and Rogue stopped and said, because if you knew how much Charles loved you, you wouldn't have the heart to continue doing what you were doing. And like, he admits it. And I love it. I know that there are going to be some straight white males who are in an uproar right now.
I mean, it's a lot of straight guys in general. Like,
totes my goats.
You know,
I mean, they were in like what, a 30, 20, 30, 40-year relationship.
Friendship? Okay. He's just my roommate, guys.
Xavier and Magneto
I just do everything with him.
Right.
Like,
we're going to the Apple pick.
Bros shower together, right? Like, come on.
I mean,
that's just how it works.
If I had a dime, you know.
Magneto and Xavier are the better version of like Dumbledore and Grindelwald Because
Yes.
Dumbledore and Grindelwald does not work. It just doesn't work.
Sometimes, yes.
But Xavier and Magneto, I can see. And that doesn't, like, I don't know, just like, yeah, why wouldn't that, like, let them be,
It works.
you know?
Yeah, like, and it's not like it wasn't always there. Like, you know, that's one of those things. It's just like the Mystique Destiny thing. It's not like it was never always there. Like, those hints have always been in the comics and even in the TV show. The episode of them going to the Savage Land. Watch that again. I just rewatched that this weekend. Sarah, if you have not seen the old show, there's an episode where they go into the Savage Land together.
Who? Xavier and
Yeah. But Magneto and Professor, yeah, it's very erotic. And I just like the way he helped him up by his waist, and I'm like, sis, I see what's happening here. I know that move, you know, like I'm excited to see what they do with that. I was very surprised that they pulled that trigger. I didn't think they were going to do it in the show, let alone in the comics. Like, in the comics, they just pulled that trigger, and like I didn't think they were going to do it in the show, and I'm very glad they did.
Little known fact is that the whole Magneto's helmet blocks Xavier's mind. That wasn't a thing until the movie made it a thing.
Yeah.
It was Juggernaut's thing, and even through the 90s cartoon, it was never a thing. And then now they put it into this because it just made sense, and now they've retconned it so that it's always the case. Otherwise, I mean, for the longest time, Magneto was just wearing a helmet just to wear a helmet.
Right.
Like,
Just
until 2001 or 2000.
Right.
2000, I think. It was like, what? It was just a stylistic choice. Mm-hmm. Juggernaut, on the other hand, he had the dome helmet, and he was like, you can't read my mind. And Magneto was like, I got a helmet too, but he can read my mind. I don't know. Okay.
Helmets were a moment. It was a moment in time.
There was a badass scene that comes right after this where Valerie Cooper comes to arrest Magneto.
Super cool.
Yes.
And she turns the helicopter blades.
I'm telling you, this is why I said she's like Gina Linetti. Like, nothing will freaking move her, shake her.
Yeah.
I would have turned around and ran for the forest. Like,
that part.
She is so badass. She's like, I don't care if you kill me right here, right now. I'm going to say what I have to say, and I don't care if you have to hear it.
She didn't care. I loved it.
I mean, the other guys did. The guys that she was with, they were like, ah.
Yeah, they're like, no, we don't agree with this.
Yeah.
We're not going on. And then she's like, yeah, you guys have to, because I'm saying so.
Right.
So
yeah, she's so cool.
Magneto gets taken in front of the UN, and at the same time, Jean goes into labor. Why they keep leaving Logan at the mansion alone with Jean, I don't know, but okay, fine. And then it was a funny moment when Jean is like, he's here. And then he's like, who? Apocalypse?
Yes.
Like, out of all the people, like, they haven't dealt with Apocalypse for a while, but like...
Right, that's where you jump to? Like, right out the gate?
He's here. Who? I don't know. No, the baby. And then he has to drive the baby. I thought it was...
And almost runs over another mother and child, but, you know. Good thing we have Jean there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And then...
Eye for an eye.
Yeah.
Right. Bringing one into the world, taking one out, you know?
There must be balance, you know? Then we get to the UN scene. How did we, let's talk about the UN, about the protesters coming in. Executioner comes in. Executioner looked really cool. I have never liked the Executioner until this moment.
Never cared for him as a villain either. He was just always there. And I'm like, I mean, I like the costume, is the mask is cool, but like this gave him a personality for me. Like, this made him an actual threat. Like, he gave, you know, it gave very much a January 6th-er. And I kind of like that. And I kind of like that it kind of mixed that reality in with it. Like, especially when he was fighting with Cyclops, and like he talks about, you all see, that's the thing. Everyone has problems, but you all complain about it. I'm like, wait. I was like, that
Everybody has
sounds...
problems. The same energy as like good guys on, or like fine people on both sides.
Okay, right.
Both sides
exactly.
are bad. It's that mentality of
I'm
like,
one of the good ones. You know,
just
it's
like-
very much going back to that. Yeah.
why don't you just not talk about racism and it'll go away?
Yeah, exactly. It's that energy.
At this point,
exactly.
I screamed at the TV, woke garbage, and I turned it off.
I was done personally. I had already began writing a letter to the producers at this point.
The X-Men are
And
woke.
I don't need this garbage.
Come on. They're just people with fancy powers. Why are you messing them up? What am I supposed to tell the children?
The kids. They're out here spreading the homosexual agenda.
Yeah,
because
so
that's
many
a thing, guys.
Yeah,
we've been out here secretly, spreading our poison to
I
the youth
knew
for
it.
years. We've been secretly, spreading the rainbow everywhere.
Whoa, garbage!
We go.
I'm turning off this podcast.
It's already too late. Your child's been infected.
Oh no! I will have to. One day I will
Corona.
have that talk with my child. Oh no!
That was full circle, and I loved it.
So we're getting this like pretty badass fight scene, right? Executioner's going at everybody. Then Morph like comes in as Lady Deathstrike, and he's like, just like ripping through things, and like, as Psylocke, as Lady Deathstrike, that sort of thing. And we cut back and forth, right? We go back to the hospital. Oh, because Rogue's not there. Rogue's not at the UN.
She had because she takes Scott to go to Jean.
That's right.
Yeah.
She's outside.
She was at the UN. She takes Scott. That's right. And the
that
doctor.
just honestly just talks about what a good leader Storm is. Like the fact that two of her heaviest hitters were gone, and she still managed to hold her own in the UN. Greatest leader, and I don't know why they like who's gonna lead us. We know who.
Right. We deal with the doctor that doesn't do mutant births.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I was like thinking to myself, oh my God, like, can you imagine? This is like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's literally just a regular birth. Like, are you afraid something's going to explode or something? Like, and then I was like, even like getting in his shoes, I was like, okay, fine. Let me think about it from his standpoint. If he thinks that Jean is going to explode the hospital, then freaking do something about it and put her in a different ward so that it doesn't cause any problems for other people if I'm really putting myself in your shoes. But like, it was so dumb. I wanted to like punch the guy.
Right.
Not a fan.
People bring up the Hippocratic Oath. The doctors are supposed to help people, but we've seen in history that like doctors deny service to anyone they like. It's just whether they're racist, whether they're homophobic.
Right.
And it's so funny because nowadays, like, they still like they do it, but they do it like so subtly. They're like, oh, like this other doctor, which is basically what just happened here is like, okay, so I guess now Rogue is a doctor.
Right, and I did love that moment of them, like, of getting Rogue to do it, of her taking the memories from him, and then, and of course the fear of her, touching the baby, and I was like, this is a nice little moment for them. I thought that was a cool moment.
I also think it's funny that like Rogue classically is always like, I don't know whether I should touch this person because I could kill them, and this racist doctor, she's like, all right.
All right.
I got it. I'm more concerned about the baby than this doctor.
Right. Like, if it happens, it happens. Shit happens,
Right. Take a seat, sugar.
So we go back to the UN. We deal with like Magneto and like Storm, like taking like caging the protesters. Storm does a pun. She says
Oh my
something about
God.
manners. You should have manners, and here's the shock of good conduct or whatever, which is a electric pun. And
Yes.
like whatever, it's like okay, whatever, you know. And then Executioner shoots Magneto. She jumps in the way. She gets hit. I saw that coming. Being an X-Men
Yeah.
fan, that's
Yeah.
like a point in X-Men history. Like
Right.
Storm gets her powers taken.
Yeah. And
She'll get it
that's
back.
one of those things. Right, she'll get it back, guys.
Is that a spoiler?
Oh,
Is that a spoiler?
I didn't know
So-
that.
Wait, did you think that
I'm so
Storm
sorry.
would have lost her powers forever and will
Not
never get her
forever.
powers back?
I mean, like, she got her powers taken away. I don't know.
I mean,
She
it'll
goes
be
through
a while, though.
It'll be a while. She goes through
It'll-
growth. She discovers
Yeah.
more about who she is without her powers. But like,
It's a strong Storm
if
arc.
she got her powers taken away for good, that would have been sucky on the writer's part.
Oh my God, right?
Like, come on, like,
Jesus.
Yeah.
you know,
Like,
Yeah. I mean, you never know. It's Marvel. I have no idea.
that's
True.
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 I felt really bad for Storm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was about to talk when you left. I tried so hard not to say it with Sarah because that part instantly broke my heart when she said, "The air, I can feel it."
The breeze is gone.
I got chills.
Yeah.
The moisture. I was like, somebody hug her. Somebody help her, please.
Yeah. Oh my
give her
gosh.
some milk, y'all. Oh.
It's like, I mean, I don't want to bring up Avatar again, but it's like when somebody gets their bending
Yeah.
taken.
Yes.
And like,
Don't spoil
That's
anything,
exactly
but
it.
yes.
no, this is season one.
Yeah. I'm that far. And it makes me think of like, what is the big deal? Somebody gets their powers taken away. What is the big deal? And because I knew it was bad as I'm seeing Storm. Like, I get it. And I'm trying to, like, my own, you know, my real life brain is like, what can I compare it to? It is sort of like somebody being amputated, right? Like, against their
Right.
will.
Yeah.
It
Exactly.
is almost maybe a lobotomy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's more
Especially
of
for somebody
that
like her.
than somebody being like, oh, I just can't hit the gym anymore. Like, it isn't that.
Right.
you know?
Right. No,
Right.
it's
Yeah,
big.
because you
Yeah.
see it. Right.
Like,
yeah, 'cause
it's
you
like
see
it's a
it.
part of you. So like, if we're comparing it to real life, you have to like take a part of
Yeah.
you.
That's exactly and you see it instantly. Like the way she describes like the air and the more like you can tell her that's an essential part of her. And the part where she got scared of the thunderstorm, y'all.
Mm,
My poor
Yeah.
little tink, y'all. My heart was just I literally clutched my heart. I was just like, baby. I was like, she just gonna cry in the car, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm very excited, and like I'm very excited to see where they go with it. I hear a lot of discourse about it because of course she's the black woman of the story who gets her powers taken away, which of course it sucks, but also you have to realize that with a person with a character like Storm, there's not many stories that you can tell that give her the kind of growth that she needs to ultimately push the character forward. And this is one of those stories that I feel like is essential to her, especially her being a goddess, like being Omega. Like there's a lot of things that she can easily can get away with or destroy just by her powers, but this is a good arc of finding out who the character is without the frill of being one of the most powerful. And I'm excited to see where they go with her like story on this.
This is comparable, but better. It's comparable to the story when Thor gets sent to Earth and can't lift his head.
Yes.
Like, it's comparable to that, except better, because Storm is just a better character than Thor, and I will stand by that. I will stand by that. Storm's one of the greatest characters ever. So, Storm...
Awesome.
I don't remember if it's about this time where she wears like the leather and like starts like playing with knives.
It is exactly
and
that.
like she starts fighting and like doing knife tricks and stuff. And it's like Storm without her powers, she's still a badass. She's still gonna fuck you up.
Right. Like, I just wish they kind of held off on the Mohawk. I feel like they should have waited until she lost her power and
To then
then
do the Mohawk.
gone into like, yeah, exactly. Then go into my I'm edgy phase. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
then that's the moment I feel like we should have waited for. But
yeah.
I'm
As we're closing to the end of this podcast, we gotta go some super fast for the last like 3 scenes.
Gotcha.
Basically, Magneto lifts up the UN people, and he's just like, I could kill you. I'm not going to because I have changed. I'm not even going to kill this guy that for some reason the Executioner wore metal. Why would he wear metal when going to you stupid human idiot? Why would you do that?
all right. Fucking flat scans, man. That's the racial slur for humans in X-Men world, actually. For you, if you didn't know, Sarah.
Yeah. Well, now I do.
Like, why would he do that? I don't know, but I thought it was like a cool level of like.
Yeah.
It was Magneto does a similar thing in the start of the Krakoan age where he's like you keep swearing, like praying to God, but we are your gods now.
We are your new gods now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, you don't have to like us, but you have to respect us.
Right. And I do love that. That's one thing I do love to emphasize, and it's like he could have easily killed him, but he chooses not to. It's all about the restraint that he gives, and like when he does use that restraint, it's a very powerful moment. Like I thought he was going to kill at least one of them. Like I was like, oh, at least one of them has to die for this, and I'm okay with it.
But he doesn't.
But
he doesn't.
Yeah.
Not even Executioner.
Right.
So he says 2 lines. He took him up there to see how vast the world is versus how small we make it. And he always says the best lines. And then he says, please do not let me let you down.
Let you down. Yes. I love that line.
Was so funny. I was actually thinking like in that moment, I'm like, is he gonna drop them?
Yes, right. I think
like he just let them go. But then I was like, okay, I got it.
It was
double meaning right there.
It was essentially him saying, like, pray that I'm not the man you think I am.
All right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, just hope that I'm not. Because, you know.
You don't want to see that.
We get the birth. Okay. We get the birth of the Summers baby. And I've put 2 and 2 together in the comics. Did we ever, in the comics, Aaron, like, short answer only, did we ever find out why the baby is named Nathan?
Yes. For the grandfather, I think. I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it?
No, I think it was a subconscious thing. I think it was subconsciously. She named it Nathaniel.
Because of Essex, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Mr. Sinister's name is Nathaniel Essex. Nathaniel Essex. And so I had put 2 and 2 together a long time ago, and then I forgot about it. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, yeah. That's why the baby's name is Nathan. So, because we get this big reveal at the end. So we get a couple of things. Storm leaves the group. They mention that Genosha is being admitted to the UN. They're pardoning Magneto, Magneto and Rogue touch. Storm writes a note about it's another woman's life, another person's dream, which I think ties in with the end part where we realize there are 2 Jean Greys.
Yes.
Was that shocking?
Crazy.
Was that shocking?
So crazy. So shocking.
It was. I didn't think they were going to pull the trigger on that. I was very skeptical about that. I hope so.
Wait. Don't
we're not spoiling it?
Anything.
I won't. Okay,
we're not spoiling it.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I don't want to know.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so much.
Okay. Maybe one of them is Mystique. Who knows?
Who knows? We got to see what happens. Who knows?
Skrull? Are there Skrull? You guys think there's Skrulls in? There has to be like.
That would be crazy.
I'm just, the world is our oyster. Who knows what's going on, right, Aaron?
The one thing I will say is that the Jean who was like looking onward to the Jean who was like in the doorway looked pissed that Jean came.
I have thoughts, and I have so many thoughts. Like, have you heard of Sarah? Have you heard of Madeline Pryor?
No.
Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. And we're just all right. That's good.
I mean, robots, people from the future,
AI,
aliens, AI. Maybe that was
all a
one
dream
of them was
in the
Galactus. Maybe Galactus
Right.
wants to live his life as a woman.
Right.
You know,
at the end of the day, we were all dreaming in a 12-year-old boy in Italy's head. You know, I get it.
Yeah, you know, who knows what this could mean. But I'm glad that, Sarah, I'm glad that you're here for the ride.
Yes.
Me too.
I hope you survive the experience.
Me too.
That's by the way, that's not Aaron threatening you. That's a X-Men tagline. So
it's right. It's the tagline.
It's
I'm like, oh no.
Welcome to the X-Men. Hope you survive the experience.
I mean, based on what you guys have said, like, I don't know.
Who knows?
I think you'll it's always X-Men is a rabbit hole, but it's one of the greatest rabbit holes that you'll be a part of.
Because X-Men in and of themselves, the reason why they like were making movies and stuff is like you don't even have to touch the Avengers. You don't have to touch any of Marvel to tell proper X-Men stories. Like X-Men,
right? You
can have like 10 different series. I mean, in the comics, they have like 15 plus comic series of X-Men every month. Like they are a universe in and of themselves. And so, you know, I love X-Men. You could never pick up any other comic and still have so much to read just reading X-Men. You know, really quick before we get going, anyone have any final thoughts about this show? What's to come? I'm very excited about this show, and I didn't think I was going to be, but I am.
Yes, Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for episode 3. I have no idea what's gonna happen. Like, I don't know who this other Jean Grey is. I'm excited to like see. I don't know. Like, I want to see what Magneto does. Like, I'm really intrigued. Like, will he actually keep his promise, or is he gonna like full on Loki it and be like the true anti that he is? Yeah, I have like a lot of. My expectations are now very high, just given these first 2 episodes. Like, they're very well written and very well animated. So I'm really excited for the next few episodes.
I'm excited that there are going to be new fans of X-Men. I'm not here to gatekeep. I'm here to spread the love. I am very looking forward to the X-Men merchandise that are there. I want X-Men on kids' backpacks. I want X-Men Legos. I want like X-Men. We've been denied for so long. You know what I mean?
Long.
And so like, I'm excited for this. And I'm excited that like Sarah's in on this now. And like, you don't have to touch the X-Men movies. That doesn't exist anymore. This is your new normal. You know?
And you just need to accept it.
Before we get going, I do want to shout out Captain Comic Rex saying, when are we getting a Gambit cooking show spinoff? Just a cartoon show of Gambit just making food?
Just
in crop tops?
Give him a YouTube channel. I would love
I
was going to say shirtless with an apron.
I am Groot for Gambit.
Yeah, but
yes.
Wouldn't it be cool if he taught cooking to kids, like
actual food, but make it funny? Yes,
like
actually, yes, that would be amazing.
You know, I think it could work.
Who do I need to write? Marvel, if you're listening.
Shout out to Modern Merlin out on Twitch giving us a purple heart. And then shout out to Marion Cravens, who was there on our YouTube chat as well. Before we get going, I want to know where we can find you. What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug? Aaron, I'll let you go first.
Okie dokie. So you can find me at Kinkakoa on TikTok, Twitter, and Discord. You can also find me at King of Thrones on Instagram, and you can also catch my podcast, Life Rants, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the things. We are coming up to our 50th episode next week, I think.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Sarah, where can we find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at moviesandtea, and then on TikTok at movies_and_tea. I sort of kind of use YouTube, but not really, but I'm still at moviesandtea on there.
And I've got nothing really coming up. I'm just finishing school, so yeah.
Well, good luck with finishing school. And then also, I'm glad that I got you on this episode. You know.
Yeah, I'm
you're always a
happy
great
that I
guest.
got to be back.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody out there who's watching and or listening. If you're watching us live, you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show, or you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all that stuff. We're all over the place, including social media. TikTok and Instagram are our two biggest ones, at The Keeg Show. But we're also on Facebook and Twitter and Threads and all that stuff at The Keeg Show /The Keeg Show. We also got thekeegshow.com if you want to keep up with articles that we're writing, where we are building up that website back up again. We're going to be at WonderCon. We're going to be at C2E2 in Chicago. We're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. There's a lot of cons that we're going to be at. This is the X-Men 97 After Show. We also got Comic Talk every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We also got the Keeg Talks every weekend. So the next Keeg Talks is for Godzilla, Kong, the New Empire. And then we got State of X. It's the monthly X-Men show. Aaron is on it. We talk about everything X-Men to try to keep people up to date on everything that's going on with the comics, mostly the comics. So we've got a lot of Keeg-related podcasts for you guys, so definitely stay tuned for that one. TikTok and Instagram is easiest ways to do that. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much, Aaron and Sarah, for Aaron and Sarah, Sarah and Aaron, Sarah and Aaron. You know,
right? We agreed on Saren.
You know,
This is our joint name now.
This is it.
Thank you guys for watching this. We got Aaron, we got Sarah, we got Dimithri Perera here on the X-Men 97 After Show. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Super strong or super fast.